Discovering the divine role of husbands, miraculously transforming sacred covenant through faith. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, a land of promise and peril lay before the patriarch Abraham. The sun dipped low in the sky, tinting the rugged hills of Canaan with a golden glow, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling within his heart. The voice of the Almighty echoed within him, "Go from your country and your kindred, to the land that I will show you." This was not merely a call to adventure, it was a covenant that would stretch across generations, granting him descendants as numerous as the stars. Yet, as Abraham explored this land, the vivid promise of God clashed with stark reality. The earth was parched, longing for rain, and soon the dreaded famine came, spreading despair like a plague. "What now, O Lord?" his thoughts whirled, fraught with anxiety. Abraham surveyed the barren fields, wrestling with doubt as he turned toward Egypt, where lush fields seemed to beckon, but so too did whispers of moral decay. His wife, Sarah, walked beside him, beautiful and wise. Fear for her safety crept into his heart. As they crossed into Egypt, the seductive allure of survival fueled his anxiety. "What if they see your beauty and take you for themselves?" he murmured, devising a plan born from dread and desperation. "Say you are my sister." In this moment of weakness, deception threatened to unravel their sacred bond and the covenant promise. An unsettling tension enveloped their journey, but God was not silent in their strife. Plagues rained down upon Pharaoh's household, a divine intervention like thunder crashing across the heavens. Abraham perceived, in the suffering of the Egyptians, God's hand pointing toward his own failure. Each affliction served as a potent reminder of the fragility of truth. God's rebuke echoed louder still when Pharaoh, bewildered and enraged, confronted Abraham. "What is this you have done to me?" In this crucible of tension and turmoil, regret gnawed at the patriarch's heart. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select All Notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Pharaoh, compelled by divine action, returned Sarah to Abraham, restoring her honor and casting them out with gifts. Yet a profound lesson lingered: how trust was illuminated in moments of darkness. Staring into the unknown, Abraham recognized the divine calling that beckoned him to lead his family with unwavering faith. Would he rise, fortified by the lessons learned, to become the husband and leader that God intended? The journey ahead bristled with uncertainties, laden with rich teachings of love and fidelity. Whispers of redemption thrummed at the edges of his heart. God's plan stirred within the depths of his spirit, a sacred mystery waiting to unfold, beckoning generations to join the tapestry of faith. As they stood at the crossroads of destiny, one question echoed through the arid hills, leaving them yearning for revelation. Would Abraham embrace the divine calling that would alter the fabric of history and nurture the faith of nations? As they traveled back from Egypt, the sun cast long shadows upon the road, illuminating the uncertainty before them. Abraham's heart pulsed with apprehension, yet the call of the Almighty surged through him. "You are to be the father of many nations," God had proclaimed, yet doubt lingered like a heavy mist. How could such a promise be fulfilled against the backdrop of famine and disobedience? Upon their return to Canaan, Abraham erected an altar to the Lord, a sacred place of remembrance and worship. He knelt upon the dusty ground, lifting his eyes to the heavens, beseeching the Lord for guidance. "O God," he prayed fervently, "you have shown me favor and restored that which I feared to lose. Strengthen my heart to trust in your covenant." The voice of the Lord answered him again, resonating through the stillness. "Fear not, Abraham, for I am your shield, your reward shall be very great." Genesis 15 verse 1. This promise emboldened Abraham, yet the weight of his uncertainty pressed heavily upon him. "What will you give me, O Lord? For I continue childless, and my heir is Eliezer of Damascus." Genesis 15 verse 2. In that quiet moment, the Lord challenged him, "This man shall not be your heir, your very own son shall be your heir. Genesis 15 verse 4. He then led Abraham outside, bidding him to gaze at the stars twinkling overhead as they pierced the dark canvas of the night. So shall your offspring be, Genesis 15 verse 5, the Lord reassured him. At that moment, despite the vast cosmic expanse above, Abraham's faith ignited. And he believed the Lord, and he counted it to him as righteousness, Genesis 15 verse 6. This was not merely an appointment but the foundation upon which future generations would stand. Thus, the seeds of faith took root within Abraham's heart once more, but the days pressed on, and Sarah, who had borne the burden of childlessness, began to doubt the promise. The silence of the heavens weighed heavily upon her weary soul. In her distress, she devised a plan steeped in her understanding and the custom of her time. Behold now, the Lord has prevented me from bearing children, she lamented. Go unto my maid, it may be that I shall obtain children by her. Genesis 16 verse 2. Abraham, with a heart still tender but fraught with impatience, heeded her voice. Hagar, the Egyptian handmaid, conceived and bore a son, Ishmael. Yet, the joy that should have accompanied this new life was marred by strife, for tensions flared between Sarah and Hagar, igniting discord in what should have been a family blessed by divine promise. God watched from the heavens, his sovereign will unyielding despite human folly. Ishmael shall be a wild donkey of a man, the Lord declared, his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. Genesis 16 verse 12. Yet even in this turmoil, God's mercy was evident, for he encountered Hagar in the wilderness, assuring her, I will surely multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for multitude. Genesis 16 verse 10. As the years passed, the promise seemed woven deeper into divine fabric, yet still unfulfilled, and doubt danced at the edges of Abraham's conviction. The complexities of his family's trial served as both test and testament of faith, underpinning the covenant with a raw, human struggle. Yet God, in his infinite wisdom, knew that the true miracle awaited just beyond the horizon, an appointed time when laughter would erupt from the hearts of aged parents. The narrative of Abraham and Sarah, laden with unforeseen trials, painted a vivid tapestry of God's sovereignty. What awaited them was far greater than mere progeny, it was a fulfillment that rippled through the ages, carrying with it the weight of divine promise. As the sands of time shifted, the question loomed ever larger. Would they trust in the God who was not constrained by their limitations? The answer lay within the unfolding mystery of his sovereign plan, awaiting revelation in the years to come. The sun began to rise over the rugged hills of Canaan, casting a gentle light upon the tent of Abraham. As the vibrant colors burst forth, they stirred within him a heart longing for reassurance. Yet, the void of silence remained a heavy cloak, and the thoughts within him turned as restless as the winds of the desert. Days morphed into years, and still, Sarah bore no child. Hope waned in her heart, overshadowed by moments of despair. With every shadow cast by the setting sun, she felt the weight of her name, which meant, princess, a title now mocked by the lack of laughter and life in their household. The memory of God's promise loomed like a specter, whispering doubts. Was this the extent of the Lord's faithfulness? Amidst the sullen thoughts, Sarah again ventured to speak with Abraham. Perhaps we have failed to understand God's will, she reasoned, her voice trembling yet resolute. Ishmael is our son now, he shall inherit what was promised. Though her intention was to honor the covenant, a shadow flickered across Abraham's face. Could he truly be the heir? Abraham thought, uncertainty gnawing at his soul. He handled the matter delicately, seeking to temper Sarah's anxious heart. What if God has spoken differently? What if this son, Ishmael, is not the one? He was torn, caught between the love for his wife and the fear of disobedience to God's command. As the length of their waiting deepened, the Lord broke the profound silence. One evening, when the stars were numerous in the sky, the Lord appeared again to Abraham. I am El Shaddai, walk before me and be blameless. Genesis 17 verse 1, the voice declared, enveloping him in a light that pierced his fears. This was not merely a reminder but a reaffirmation of power beyond his understanding. Your name shall no longer be Abram, but Abraham, for I have made you the father of a multitude of nations. Genesis 17 verse 5. In that declaration, Abraham felt the pulse of eternity. God's voice had come not only to command but to alter the very essence of who Abraham was. With trembling hands, Abraham fell face down, the weight of the revelation pressing hard upon him. Every promise spoken became a pledge of hope, an unyielding truth that no shadow could obscure. "And I will establish my covenant between me and you, and your descendants after you throughout their generations for an everlasting covenant." Genesis 17 verse 7, the Lord continued, enveloping Abraham in a mantle of assurance. But then came the twist that would echo through time. "As for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name." Genesis 17 verse 15. The transformation was nothing short of miraculous. From doubt to faith, an unexpected renewal was promised, for she too would bear a son. Abraham could scarcely believe his ears. "Shall a child be born to a man who is 100 years old, and shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear a child?" Genesis 17 verse 17. Yet, the laughter was not wholly one of derision, it tinged with the sweetness of faith awakening. As they pondered the implications of such swelling promises, the divine mystery enveloped them. What they did not yet see was that God was orchestrating a plan far beyond their understanding. A child named Isaac, whose name would symbolize the laughter that fulfilled the divine covenant. Thus, the chapters of their lives began to intertwine with the thread of hope, drawing them closer to the grand realization of God's purposes. And within this beautiful unfolding, they would soon learn that the promise, rich with blessings, would not end with them but cascade through generations yet to come, revealing much more than they could ever imagine about the infinite sovereignty of their God. In the stillness of the morning, with the tent's flaps stirring gently in the soft breeze, God continued to weave his narrative into Abraham's life. Few could fathom the depths of what lay ahead, but the heart of Abraham, now known as the father of nations, thrummed with renewed purpose and a fervent faith. Abraham turned his gaze towards the horizon, the promise of the Almighty burning bright within him. "What shall this son be called?" he thought with solemnity, envisioning the laughter to come, the legacy beginning to sprout under his very feet. He resolved to lay all his burdens before the Lord. His prayers, once burdened with doubt, now dripped with expectancy. Days passed, filled with preparations and sacred contemplation. As the sun climbed higher, the Lord spoke once more to his faithful servant. "You will call him Isaac, for laughter shall fill your household and the hearts of those who behold the work of my hands." Genesis 17 verse 19. The sound of joyous laughter that had been a distant memory could now be perceived even in the silence. Meanwhile, Sarah, still wrestling with temptation and the wounds of delay, busied herself with daily tasks. Each time she looked at her husband, memories of their shared dreams clashed with the weight of her barren womb. Yet, a whisper of hope began to weave its way through her heart. Could it be true? Could God truly restore their joy? In the twinkling of a moment, she remembered the promise and her name, which proclaimed her a princess. "O Lord, can it be that I will see the day when this truth blossoms into reality?" she whispered into the cool morning air. Sarah prayed fervently, seeking the face of the one who had spoken. Then, in the presence of the Lord, a divine visitation approached. 3 heavenly beings appeared at the tent's entrance, a vivid testament to God's desire to engage with his faithful servant. Abraham ran toward them, bowing low, eager to receive their message. "My Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, please do not pass by your servant." Genesis 18 verse 3. As they dined in the shade of the oak tree, the atmosphere pulsed with expectancy. The messenger turned towards Abraham and, with a knowing smile, proclaimed, "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah your wife shall have a son." Genesis 18 verse 10. Sarah, overhearing from within the tent, found herself caught in a web of disbelief. Unbeknownst to her, a smile danced on her lips, for laughter now battled with her fear. "After I am worn out, and my Lord is old, shall I have pleasure?" Genesis 18 verse 12, she exclaimed, her voice quivering between denial and hope. "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" The messenger replied, his voice piercing the heart of her doubt. Astonishment seized her spirit, and through the veil of her skepticism, a flicker of faith ignited. Abraham, observing the divine exchange, felt the profound depth of this visitation. The heavens had conspired to bring them good news, laden with redeeming potential. He knew in that moment that no circumstance could eclipse the promises of God. They would not crumble under the weight of their years. As the day drew to a close, and the stars began to line the canvas of the night, Abraham and Sarah would find their lives forever altered, plunged into mystery and wonder surrounding the life of a son yet to be born. Each step would lead them closer to a covenant unfolding, rippling outward with every heartbeat. What they had yet to understand was the magnitude of the heir that would arise, a child destined not just for their lineage, but for a covenant that would reverberate through all nations, challenging the very fabric of human disbelief. God's faithful plan was taking shape, and with it came an invitation to join in the miraculous unfolding of his sovereign will. As the dawn broke anew, a hush settled over the encampment. Within the heart of Abraham, the anticipation swelled like a tide, carrying with it the whispers of promise. In a time marked by uncertainty, the figure of Abraham remained steadfast, embodying a faith carved through trials and revelations. "Lord," he breathed, his voice trembling yet resolute, "your word is my anchor in the storm of these years." The air thickened with expectation, for it was clear a moment of divine purpose was at hand. Abraham, seeking clarity, turned his thoughts towards the covenant God had established with him. "O God, how shall you fulfill this promise of a son, when so much of my life has been a journey through barren wilderness?" Meanwhile, Sarah had awakened, the weight of her thoughts pressing heavily upon her. With each passing sunrise, she grappled with the miraculous promises issued from the lips of the Almighty. "Could it truly be that my laughter will once again fill our home?" She pondered, her heart torn between hope and fear. As the days flowed like the Nile, Abraham ventured to greet his guests, now transformed into messengers of Almighty God. Their words hung in the air, heavy with divine assurance that mystified the depths of his understanding. "I will return," the voice of the Lord echoed in his heart. "And you shall name him Isaac." In the midst of her chores, Sarah overheard their solemn conversation. Each word fired like an arrow into the heart of her doubt. Could she truly be a mother at her age, when the years had seemed so cruel? Can it be? She spoke aloud, the query drifting into the ether. "O God, how shall I trust what seems impossible?" The Lord, knowing her inner turmoil, stirred within her as he once more responded to the cry of her heart. "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" echoed unceasingly in her thoughts. Sarah found herself wrestling with a newfound lightness, a burgeoning faith that sought to flourish despite the barrenness that had been her companion for so long. Abram discussed with the visitors the fate of Sodom, revealing the profound connection of intercession for those in darkness. "Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked?" he implored, in a moment that revealed the heart of a man seeking mercy for others. "Far be it from you, Lord." Genesis 18 verse 25. His concern reflected the spirit of a father longing for nations, demonstrating how faith intertwined faithfully with covenant. As the sun waned, casting golden rays upon the earth, the thoughts of Abraham turned again to his beloved wife. "For her joy, I would endure all trials," he said silently to the Lord, surrendering once more his will to the one who knows the end from the beginning. Thus, the evening spoke of promise and uncertainty alike, pregnant with the weight of expectation. Friends and family would not yet comprehend the magnitude of the covenant that hung in the balance, nor the child of laughter destined to bring forth a legacy that would span the generations. In this sacred moment, a divine calling beckoned both Abraham and Sarah, a beckoning towards growing faith that would challenge not only their perspectives but perhaps the foundations of their hearts. In the deepening ink of night, the promise laden with profound mysteries whispered of a day yet to unfold, a day when the world would witness the dazzling intersection of miraculous faith and God's unfathomable sovereignty. Little did they know how this child, Isaac, would serve as a cornerstone, not just for their lineage, but an everlasting testimony to the faithful wonder of God's purpose. Yes, the time would come for his promise to be revealed, and through it, the course of nations would be forever altered. As the stars adorned the night sky like jewels upon a royal mantle, a weighty silence enveloped the encampment, where the hearts of Abraham and Sarah beat in unison with the unfathomable promise of God. In this twilight hour, Abraham felt a stirring deep within him, for he sensed the divine was drawing near, a whispered echo of the covenant hovering over the darkness. Lord, he prayed, his heart ablaze with desire, make your will known to me. I stand as your servant, searching for the clarity amidst the shadows. In this vulnerable moment, he sought the Lord, lifting his gaze toward the heavens, trusting even amid the questions that chased his thoughts. Sarah, laden with the hope of renewal, ventured out to join her husband. Her steps were hesitant yet filled with determination. The promise of laughter, however distant, ignited flickers of joy within her soul. How can it be, my Lord? She mused softly, that one so old and a wife past her years would bear a son? What is it that you see in this barren soil? Even as she spoke her doubts, a gentle breeze stirred the air, and she felt a whisper on her spirit, is anything too hard for the Lord? It was a reminder that echoed the words that had seeped into her heart. Her resolve began to strengthen. She sensed that the impossible was rooted in the fidelity of God's unwavering promise. Just then, the guests remained by the threshold, and the air around them seemed to shimmer with anticipation. The first among them, with countenance bright and serene, turned his gaze toward Abraham. "Where is your wife Sarah?" he asked, piercing through the veil of evening with a question that summoned curiosity. "Here in the tent," Sarah replied, taking a breath, feeling strangely tethered to this moment. As if destiny itself awaited her response, the messenger spoke again, carrying the weight of the Almighty. "I will surely return to you this time next year, and Sarah shall have a son." A spark ignited within Sarah, igniting laughter. It escaped her lips into the night, mingling with disbelief. "After I am worn out, and my Lord is old, shall I have pleasure?" The jest felt trivial against the backdrop of the solemn declaration. Yet the Lord's voice rang through the air with firmness. Why did Sarah laugh and say, "Shall I indeed bear a child when I am so old? Is anything too difficult for the Lord? At the appointed time, I will return to you, and Sarah shall have a son." Her laughter turned to trembling as the gravity of the word washed over her. In that moment, faith began to bloom in her heart, uprooting the old patterns of doubt. "Forgive me, my Lord," she spoke, her voice trembling. "I did not mean to doubt your promise." "And you shall name him Isaac," the divine messenger continued, a light in his eyes, illuminating the path of destiny that lay ahead. "For I will establish my covenant with him, an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him." That very night, the stars bore witness to the unfolding plan, for the Lord had chosen this unlikely couple to give birth to a lineage blessed by his favor. Each twinkling light stood as a testament to the promises yet to unfold, whispering of nations to come, of generations that would be born from the laughter of faith. As the moon rose higher, casting its silver glow upon the tents, Abraham and Sarah exchanged glances, both flooded with joy and fear, for now the stakes rose higher. They stood not merely as parents to be, but as the beginning of a divine saga that would echo throughout eternity. Yet even in this sacred moment, a hidden thread of God's plan twisted through the air, pondering the realms of time and purpose. But what they did not yet fathom about Isaac's fate. In the days that followed, Abraham arose with a heart aflame, pondering the promise he had received. The dawn cast a golden hue over the encampment, and he stood outside his tent, his eyes scanning the vast horizon, filled with anticipation and wonder. Each rising sun spoke of the faithfulness of the Lord, and as he recalled the words of the divine visitors, a fierce resolve took root in his spirit. Yet, amidst the fervent excitement coursing through him, a pang of fear brushed against Abraham's heart. "What must I do to nourish this promise?" he mused, turning over the ancient covenant in his mind, battling the shadows of his own inadequacies. One evening, as he sat beneath the stars, he recalled the words echoed by the messenger, "For I will establish my covenant with him, an everlasting covenant." As Abraham sought the Lord in prayer, he felt the weight of this covenant grow heavier. "Lord," he pleaded, "teach me how to lead my house in accordance with your plan. Let my faith guide those who dwell under my roof." The winds of the night whispered back again, stirring the leaves of the nearby tress as if nature itself was affirming him. It was here, within the delicate equilibrium of silence and melody, that the Lord spoke anew. "Walk before me, and be blameless," he instructed. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and nations shall come from you. With each heartfelt prayer, Abraham sought wisdom, understanding that his role was not merely that of a father, but as a steward of the covenant. He approached Sarah, sharing his renewed determination. Our bond must reflect the promises of heaven, my love. Let us prepare our hearts for Isaac, for he shall be the bearer of our legacy. Sarah's spirit, ignited by her husband's conviction, joined hands with him in faith. Let our laughter be the herald of hope, and our prayers the pillars of his birth. Together, they began to weave their lives into a fabric of devotion, setting aside fear and doubt, every day becoming one step closer toward the time appointed. As days turned into weeks, whispers began to circulate among the servants of the household and those in the nearby tents. The news of Sarah's impending motherhood stirred a mixture of awe and skepticism. Yet Sarah, emboldened by the promise, greeted each glance with a spirit of courage. She held her abdomen in awe, knowing that life began in her womb, the life of a son who would carry their faith into the future. One evening, the Lord appeared again unto Abraham. It was at the hour of twilight, when the sky became a canvas of royal colors. Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? The Lord pondered aloud as he drew Abraham close. The air quivered with sacred reverence as he unveiled a glimpse of the unfolding covenant. The cry of Sodom and Gomorrah has risen to heaven, and their wickedness calls for judgment. In the solemnity of this revelation, Abraham's heart became torn, a reflective turmoil surged within him. What if there are righteous ones among them? He implored, a fierce love for the lost igniting his voice. Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Far be it from you. This moment revealed the depth of Abraham's heart, not merely a servant of the Almighty but a man of uncompromising faith and intercession. And as he pleaded for mercy, the seeds of Isaac's future intertwined with a greater plan of divine redemption. And I will bless you, for I have chosen you to be a father of many nations, the Lord reaffirmed, echoing the promise once more. Thus, from the shadows of despair and the hopes of laughter, God's sovereign plan unfolded, for what Abraham did not yet know was the role of Isaac would not only build a great nation, but through him, the salvation of the world would one day arise. And in the days that followed, as the sun traversed its daily path and bathed the land in light, Abraham found himself once more standing upon the cusp of a promise. With the God of heaven walking beside him, his heart became filled with anticipation, and he set his sight toward the distant mountains. The Lord had placed a mantle of expectation upon Abraham, as he tirelessly interceded for the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. O Lord, he spoke fervently, if there be 50 righteous within the city, will you spare it for their sake? Abraham's plea was born of deep love and compassion, fueled by the knowledge of the covenant he carried. Yet the Lord replied, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham, sensing the gravity of the matter, pressed on, his voice trembling with earnestness, suppose there are 5 less than 50. With each descending number, from 45 to 40, and down to 20, his heart resolved to seek mercy, understanding the weight of sin that enveloped the cities. And as the dialogue with God unfolded, Abraham's boldness revealed the depths of his relationship with the Almighty. Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak once more, suppose 10 should be found there. The Lord responded simply, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And with that, the communication ceased, leaving Abraham with the weighty realization that even a flicker of righteousness could bear the burden of cities and generations. Meanwhile, in the stillness of the night, Sarah felt the stirrings of life within her womb, and joy intertwined with a sacred anxiety. With each reminder of the promise, she sensed the deep purpose knitted into the fabric of her being. She sought the counsel of the women of the tents, sharing her hopes and imploring them to join in prayer. Lift your voices unto the Lord, she called, for he who promised is faithful. As the days turned to weeks, the echoes of laughter and whispers of motherhood resounded throughout the encampment. As Abraham returned from his intercession, he met Sarah's eyes, and they shared a moment of silent communion, where neither spoke, but both knew the hope that was being woven in the womb of faith. Just then, 3 heavenly visitors appeared by the oaks of Mamre. Abraham rose to meet them, his heart swelling with hospitality and reverence. "My lord, if I have found favor in your sight, do not pass by your servant." The visitors accepted his invitation, and as they sat beneath the shade of the oak, Abraham prepared a feast fit for king's bread, meat, and curds, and with each offering, he poured out his heart, giving thanks for the mercies bestowed upon him and his household. As the aroma filled the air, one of the visitors turned to Abraham and said, "Where is Sarah your wife?" "In the tent," Abraham replied, his heart leaping. Then the visitor spoke again, "I will certainly return to you according to the time of life, and behold, Sarah your wife shall have a son." At this, Sarah, listening from behind the tent door, could not contain her disbelief and laughed quietly to herself. "After I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my lord being old also?" In this moment, both joy and doubt wrestled in her spirit. But the Lord knew her heart, saying, "Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I surely bear a child, since I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time, I will return to you." As Abraham listened to the words of the Lord, he beheld the unfolding tapestry of promises that interwove their lives together. Little did he fully grasp that Isaac's birth would be the fulfillment of a covenant that would echo through the ages, a declaration of God's unwavering faithfulness. As the sun set on that momentous day, he understood that this was but a glimpse of a greater mystery. For the path they walked was not solely for him and Sarah, but through their lineage would come the hope of nations and the salvation of all mankind. Thus, the question lingered in the air, a divine query woven through history: what other wonders might God fashion through this child born of promise? And the days passed, and the promise of birth began to stir within Sarah's heart, though doubt still hung heavy upon her spirit. As the world around them thrummed with life, Abraham turned his gaze towards the heavens, seeking the Lord's counsel. One evening, as the stars lit the firmament, he pondered the weight of the covenant that rested upon his shoulders. "O Lord," he prayed, "you have named me father of many nations, yet I am but a sojourner, and my lineage appears feathered with uncertainty." The response of the Lord wrapped around him like a cloak of reassurance. "Look now towards the heavens and count the stars, if you are able to number them, so shall your descendants be." Genesis 15 verse 5. Abraham's heart raced as he lifted his eyes to the sky. Each star shone with a promise, illuminating a future entwined with hope. On the horizon of his faith lay a child, an heir through whom the blessings of God would flow. Meanwhile, in the quiet of the tent, Sarah wrestled internally, her laughter now mingled with wonder, though the shadows of disbelief still lurked in her thoughts. Could this be true? She whispered to herself, for the years had stolen the vigor of youth. Yet deep within, the stirrings of faith began to flicker, as small as a candle, but burning with divine intent, and it came to pass that the visitors, having fulfilled their purpose, viewed the valley from their vantage point. The Lord said to them, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing?" Genesis 18 verse 17. The air grew still as the gravity of what was to come settled upon the hearts of the heavenly beings. There was a weightiness in the knowledge of the impending destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. The cries of the cities rose as incense before the Lord, and he deemed it just to intervene. The visitors turned their faces toward Sodom, and Abraham, stirred by divine compassion, emerged from the depths of his tent. "Are you indeed going to destroy the righteous with the wicked?" His voice trembled with urgency and a love unyielding. "Far be it from you, O Lord, shall not the judge of all the earth do what is right?" Genesis 18 verse 25. With this, the heart of Abraham thundered in alignment with the divine. Each righteous soul he sought to save fueled his intercession as he lowered the number with fervent hope. The Lord engaged him, and with each exchange, the bond between man and Creator deepened, revealing the threads of mercy intricately woven through justice. Sarah stood within the tent, hearing not only her husband's passionate plea but sensing the weight of the covenant that linked them together in this divine tapestry. As the banter between God and Abraham unfolded, she felt an awakening within herself, a flicker of what it meant to be a mother of nations, a partner in the promises of God. When the visitors departed, the solemnity of their task weighed heavy in the air. Abraham watched as they journeyed toward the shadow of impending judgment, his heart a canvas of interceding love. In that moment, Sarah came forth, emboldened by the unfolding revelation. "Oh, Lord!" She called upon the name that was faithful. Abraham turned towards her, a tender joy radiating from their shared hope. He raised his hands to the heavens. "Together we stand, trusting in what seems impossible yet embodies your sovereign will." Thus, as they stood united under the vast expanse, the echo of their confidence became a resonance in the spirit world, a testament that faith and covenant intertwined bring forth a destiny far greater than the eye could see. As the sun sank beneath the horizon, the glimmer of a new day beckoned, holding within it the promise of life. What covenantal wonders awaited them in the dawn of their promise? Under the dawning light of a new day, the air hummed with expectancy. Sarah, now giant with child, walked softly beneath the white canvas of their tent, each gentle step a movement toward the promise etched upon her heart. The time of waiting drew to its climax. The fruit of her labor was soon to manifest. The laughter that had once echoed in disbelief now transformed, ready to burst forth in joyous celebration. Abraham stood outside, the sun's rays catching the silver in his hair, a sign of wisdom intertwined with steadfast faith. His heart was a tapestry of emotion as he gazed upon the horizon, remembering the covenant spoken over him. "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do?" echoed in his mind, compelling him to ponder the vast implications of his lineage. With each breath, he felt the weight of destiny, the very nations encompassed within his future. The days unfurled like the petals of a flower greeting the warmth of the sun. The moment arrived. A cry pierced the stillness. Isaac was born. The name immersed their camp in joy, its meaning a vibrant echo of the promise fulfilled. Laughter had come at last. Sarah's heart overflowed as she clasped her newborn son, cradling him close, each heartbeat affirming their journey from barrenness to blessing. "God has made laughter for me, everyone who hears will laugh with me," she proclaimed. Genesis 21 verse 6. Abraham beheld Isaac, the embodiment of God's fidelity, his heart swelling with gratitude. This was more than a son, this was a testament to the faithfulness of the Almighty, a living symbol of hope intertwined with divine purpose. He gathered his family, calling together every servant in the camp, sharing the news with exuberance. "Come, rejoice with me. Our God has proven true." Yet amidst the celebrations, shadows loomed. The intricacies of human relationships also revealed their challenges. Ishmael, now a growing boy under the hand of Hagar, wandered under the vastness of the same sky, unaware of the bond that existed between his father and the promised son. Tensions rose, feeding fears and insecurities as Sarah, feeling the rightful claim of her son upon Abraham's affection, sought resolution. "Cast out this maidservant and her son," Sarah implored, her voice tinged with a heart wanting to protect the promise. Abraham's heart felt the weight of her request, torn between love for his firstborn and the covenant that now blossomed in Isaac. "O God, what shall I do?" he cried, his spirit wrestling with purpose. Yet the Lord broke through the tumult of uncertainty with soothing assurance. "Do as Sarah says, for through Isaac shall your offspring be named." Genesis 21 verse 12. With a heavy heart and deep trust in God's promises, Abraham obeyed. He placed provisions in Hagar's hands, sending them away toward the wilderness. The echoes of Ishmael's cries lingered in the wind, but a deeper assurance surged within him: God would be with them, too. In their departure, an unseen world rejoiced, for milestones of faith opened the pathway to God's unfolding plan. In the wilderness, the struggle birthed strength. The Almighty visited Hagar, promising a great nation through Ishmael as well, declaring their place in his sovereign plan. Genesis 21 verse 18. This was now the beginning of stories interwoven, echoing through the generations, one of anguish and one of joy, yet both children would rise to fortify God's calling. As time unfurled its wings, Abraham's lands flourished, and nations began to draw breath from their lineage. When the day of testing arrived, divine instruction came, echoing like thunder through the quiet moments. "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and offer him as a burnt offering." Genesis 22 verse 2. The command struck straight to the heart of Abraham, a test that reverberated through his soul. But with every step toward Moriah, he was reminded, faith often walks hand in hand with sacrifice, standing before the altar, Isaac innocent in his trust, Abraham's faith glimmered like a beacon in the storm. "The Lord will provide," he whispered, believing that through the flames of trial, a greater covenant would be forged. And as he raised the knife, heaven itself intervened, a ram caught in the thicket testifying to God's provision, sealing their covenant anew. The voice of God resounded, "Because you have done this, I will surely bless you, I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven." Genesis 22 verse 17. Abraham understood the breadth of the promise, more potent than he could have fathomed in youth. With each generation, the laughter of Isaac would ripple through time, preparing hearts for the one who would bring ultimate redemption to the world. Thus, the story continued, a sacred dance of God's faithfulness embodied through human frailty. From laughter to legacy, his design woven through the hearts of many generations unfolded like the stars above, guiding them toward glory and covenant. As we reflect on this extraordinary journey, let us hold fast to God's promises, believing that in our struggles, laughter is just on the horizon, awaiting the faithful hearts willing to embrace divine purpose. Now, if God's word has resonated within you, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's truth and not miss the next powerful biblical stories. Leave a like now to help spread the light of God's word through the algorithm, and comment your thoughts, your reflections, and how this biblical story has impacted your faith. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to encounter God's truth today. Your actions can ignite hope and transform lives for Christ. Join us in this divine mission.